All right, what's up, guys? So doing something a little bit different today. I put a post in my stories on Instagram and I said, give me some questions and I'm going to answer them. So these ones are straight off of Instagram. Basically, I let people leave them for an hour and this is the mess of crap that we got. Just kidding. There's a couple good ones in there. But so for the next one, I'm going to let you guys pick the questions. Give me the questions that you want below. Ideally, give me good questions. If you can Google it, that's not that interesting. If you want to Google something about creatine, then go to like examine.com or something and read about creatine from smarter peer-reviewed people. But if you want something about some context about someone who has experienced training lots of people for long periods of time, then maybe something along those lines. Or just, about my feelings, about my beard, about my hair choice and color of shirt, whatever else you all want. So leave me some questions down below. If you guys see a question that you like, give it a little thumbs up, because let's say I get a question that people are like, man, that's really good. And 30 people like little thumbs up or heart or whatever action you can take on comments down below. Like that one, then I'll definitely answer that one. Where if you get one, like I said before, you're like, my elbow hurts when I do this. What do I do? I'm not going to answer that question. I don't know what to do. Go see a doctor, maybe. I don't know. Or don't do that. That's always the good advice. So getting right into it. After all that mess, and always do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe, tell some friends, keep helping the channel grow. I appreciate it. The first question I'm going to answer is, what is the main difference between myself and DC ideology? So if you don't know, DC stands for dog crap, and it's Mr. Dante Trudell. It is his style of training that I believe he invented in the 70s. Just kidding, probably the 90s, maybe. So it's been around for a minute. And if anybody doesn't know, I would say this is kind of the stem of where we have the most popular HIIT style training, would say comes from Arthur Jones, popularized by Mike Mentzer. And then we have Dorian Yates, who basically got a lot of his stuff from Arthur Jones and Mike Mentzer. And then we have basically DC style training. I would say those would be the most prominent by Dante, HIIT style training. So basically anyone that's doing any type of high intensity or HIIT style training, which I would consider some of my stuff, is basically following in the footsteps of those people. So if there's really any difference, I don't really say that I have I don't think I have a style of training, which I don't know if that's good or bad. So that would probably be the difference. I have just basically kind of stumbled upon or found that I think a lower volume, higher intensity tends to work better for people, because I like the concept of to do as little as possible to produce maximal results. And so I think if I'm, interpreting some of Dante's programming a little bit more accurately, he's a little bit higher frequency than I would have with some people. I think he recommends a few more off days than I would all across the board. Where again, I just don't generally say everyone should be this high frequency, everybody should train this many days, everyone should have that many off days. That being said, I've never run one of Dante's programs exactly as is. So if I'm messing something up, it's because I'm an idiot, not because Dante's program is what I just said it was. So I guess that would be, I don't know if that really answered that. That's the difference, where I've had people, and if you look at any of my programs at any point in time, I have some people doing higher frequency. Some people, I think a bro split can be fine. Sometimes full body can be fine. So there's just kind of a little bit more maybe of across the board, where there's just a lot of his big concepts that I definitely say that I like and that I use, but I wouldn't say the overall structure is quite exactly the same. So if I was going to answer biggest differences, I would say would be frequency and amount of off days. I would say I'm a little bit different on that kind of stuff. But the take home there is, the way I like to look at training is, he's got valuable information that works and produces great results. So you should look at what works and basically pull from those things, as opposed to trying to say, well, here's where this is different and what I do different. Every coach is going to have a little bit of a different application, but I would look where there's similarities for sure. Someone asked, with my hand on my heart, would you realistically say Terrence can win the O this year? Of course he can win the O this year. I think it's so funny where people want to tell me things, or Terrence things, that you think we don't know. Did you guys know that Chris Bumstead is taller than Terrence? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That changes everything. We're going to wear platforms on stage this year, and that'll make a big difference. Terrence has a near perfect physique, near perfect. So every year we just try and make it perfecter. Do I think a perfect physique can beat Chris? Of course it can. That being said, it's just one of those sports where all that discussion ahead of time, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, talk amongst yourselves, comment down below, tell me how much awesome Chris is and how tall he is and how statuesque he is, and things that I would assume would probably make Chris uncomfortable having to read all the time as well too. But it doesn't work like that. Terrence is going to come and he's got 24 hours every single day, and he's going to take the best effort that he can. We're basically almost out of room for how much muscle he can put on. So the goal is a perfect physique, coming in shredded. We know that he's going to have a better posing routine than anyone up there. And whatever happens, happens. Doesn't really matter my opinion or Terrence's opinion or Chris's opinion after that point. Everyone's going to put their best on stage. And of course, a perfect physique on any given day can win. And that being said, Chris hits a perfect physique and we hit a perfect physique and Chris is taller. Well, we'll see what the judges like and they're going to decide who wins. But of course he can win. Otherwise, we wouldn't show up. Let's see. What do we have next? Skinny fat, cut or bulk? I'm always a fan of cutting first. Again, I don't think there's really any benefit. This number's a little bit made up, but there's not a whole lot of benefit to being above 15% body fat. And considering how short of a period of time it can take to cut, even with just a moderate cut to drop your body fat down, why not take 6 to 8 weeks, get yourself lean, and arguably a lot of things in your body are going to respond better coming off of a little bit of a deficit as opposed to just being in this perpetual surplus. If you're in this perpetual surplus and just keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter, arguably, it's going to have some things hormonally not great off. That being said, there's nothing wrong with putting on a little bit of body fat. So again, now in the Instagram world that we're in right now, some people like to be like 8% body fat year round. Some people can bulk that lean, but some people just want to look good year round, in which case they never actually get themselves in a surplus and never allow themselves to put on muscle. So I would like to say I like cyclical bulking, it's a term for it now, but I like having periods of time to lean up. Doesn't need to be drastic or dramatic. So maybe like 4 weeks or so of tightening up and then maybe 10, 12 weeks of bulking. And again, if you're just doing all those moderate surplus, moderate deficit, you shouldn't ever really get really fat. And even when you're dropping body fat, you shouldn't lose progress or lose strength. Any good reason to incorporate at least one horizontal pull for lats? I'd say so. So one good reason is it's probably the best way to load the lats in the fully shortened position, which again, I think is good to do at some point in time. And then arguably, I think this is a little bit dependent on structure, but when you look at your lats, some of the lat fibers really do go a very different direction. So the top of your lats, the ones that attach more right across the center of your spine, run more horizontal. And then some of them basically attach to your pelvis. The ones that run along right here, the most lateral part of your body, down to your pelvis, to your hips, share some fascia down there, are almost vertical. So if you have some fibers this way, some fibers this way, again, I wouldn't say it's like you're never isolating these, but why not finish with something with your humerus kind of wrapping around your body, maybe the intent of traveling behind your body for one exercise, which rows makes sense. And why not have something that finishes pulling down, like a pull down makes sense. And again, if the only time maybe I would say no is if you really didn't have the room for it in your programming. So if someone was doing a total body and they can do one lat movement, then I'd say, yeah, maybe just do a pull down, that's fine. But again, if you can program at least 2 exercises, why wouldn't you do a row? Because more pull downs, I think, would be redundant. How do we know how much we need to recover? Is it just based on how we feel? No, it shouldn't be based on how you feel. I shouldn't say that. To a certain extent, it's based on how you feel, but most importantly, it's based on if you're making progress. And so the real question is, are you actually tracking and measuring thing to know if you're making progress? So if it's just this weird thing, be like, oh, am I recovered? Am I not recovered? If you're asking that question and it's a mystery, it probably means you're not actually tracking anything. It probably means you actually haven't taken progress pictures in the same spot and actually seen as your physique changing, or getting on the scale the exact same time every single day and make sure the scale is going up over a certain period of time while not getting fatter. It means you're probably not looking at your logbook and your lifts and making sure you're making progress. So when you track everything and okay, my sleep is on point, my food is in a certain place where I'm able to actually recover and grow, I'm in a little bit of a surplus or at least maintenance. And then you look, I say the short term is look at your lifts. Are you progressing from session to session or at least month to month? Then from there, looking at your physique, is the scale going up? And again, that's a little bit slower, maybe like a pound or something a month can be pretty good of actually maybe lean tissue. So those would be the things I would look at first. Are you making progress? And then from there, if you ever really check all those boxes, you're really on top of recovery, really on top of nutrition, really on top of sleep, and you still wake up in the morning sometimes feeling like crap, feeling like you got hit by a truck after a good night's sleep, and things start to tail off a little bit. These are normally people that really, really train hard. That can actually happen. So yes, having this feeling of lethargy, especially right when you wake up, when you're doing all the right stuff, that can be a sign of overtraining. But most people that ask that question, my answer for you is no, you're not overtraining. Your problem is you're probably not tracking anything to even know if you were overtraining. And most people are under recovering, right? So again, what is the difference? Well, like I said before, if you're tracking all your recovery variables and you're actually doing a really good job, and then you're still not recovering, then that's overtraining. Whereas if most people, I say, track all your variables, you say, well, what do I track? I'm not tracking anything. Well, there you go. You're under recovering because you're not paying attention to any of those variables that help your recovery. Besides hypertrophy, top 3 tips to stay healthy. They had examples would be supplements. I wouldn't start with supplements. I would say moderation is king. I always joke, my grandparents are really healthy. My dad's really healthy. They don't know anything about super fancy trends in dieting. They don't know anything super fancy trends in training. They just make sure they do something in moderation consistently for the majority of your life. So again, a lot of people are spending time right now, researching every single training protocol and advanced technique and looking online for hours and not putting as much stock into thinking about what can I do to some degree for the rest of my life. And again, there's nothing wrong with having periods of higher levels of things requiring harder adherence. Like, yeah, I'm going to compete for 10 years or whatever. That's fine. But you should have some notion of what can I adhere to for the rest of my life. And so again, some sort of physical activity, like literally like if you're a normal person, go for walks daily, maybe go to the gym twice a week or something. I think having your weight stay in a healthy range, eating most of your life, if you can, back and forth between a deficit and maintenance is probably good. Going into a huge surplus, even to put on muscle, I don't think is very healthy, especially for long periods of time. So again, something that you can adhere to for the rest of your life that is just moderate. And again, that's why I said moderation is king. My dad's the guy where if he ever he's weighed within 10 pounds of the same weight since high school, and every once in a while I'll get on the scale and be like, the scale's going a little up. Maybe I'll eat a little bit less and move a little bit more. And he does that till he's back at the weight that he wants to be. Same with my grandparents. And eat healthy, eat things that you know what healthy is for you. So just eat some of those things and then have moderation for the things that are unhealthy so you can actually adhere to it for the majority of your life. How to grow stubborn body parts. First, fix form. Next, fix effort. Next, make sure your recovery is not the limiting factor. And then from there, maybe worry about programming. So worry about higher frequency or something like that. Will I ever compete again? No. Top 3 Arnold Classic Open predictions. Unless I'm forgetting somebody, it's going to be Ian, Nick Walker, and Sergio. I could be forgetting someone. So if someone's watching this right now, I didn't know that Ronnie Coleman's making a comeback and he's pissed off that I didn't mention his name. Sorry, I don't honestly always stay 100% on top of who's doing every single show and every single class. But I'm pretty positive those are going to be the top 3, unless I'm really just blanking on somebody. And it should be an awesome top 3. I mean, this is one of those cliche things. Not that I know all those guys like I'm best friends, but I know them all a little bit. And they're all seem like great guys. They're just bodybuilders. If you haven't paid attention to any of them, they all legit live it, train hard, super all of them are highly, highly competitive. So who the hell doesn't want to see those 3 guys together? And I don't think I've seen, all 3 of them definitely haven't been on stage together at the same time. I don't know if any of them have been on the stage together. And if they have, I'm just forgetting about it. So yeah, I can't wait to see the comparison because again, there's a little bit of everybody kind of has their own unique things. All 3 of those guys are big. All 3 of those guys get in shape, and they all have their kind of own unique things about their physique that I think I'm just pumped to see stand next to each other. So I will definitely be sitting in the audience for that as a fan, really excited about seeing what happens. Can HIIT training be used through the prep? It can be. But the most simple and short answer I would give is you have to be well fed. So again, if you don't have, if you're really, really depleted, you've been in a huge deficit for a long period of time, I'd say you probably want to use the glycogen that's in your muscle for your training. But if you're well fed, especially early on in a prep, I kind of like to have some HIIT in there. If for no other reason, it's time convenient. And then 2, it helps my training. So when I'm actually doing legit HIIT, it improves my output on other workouts and improves my output, particularly like on leg day. But as soon as then again, there's no hard, fast rule, but just something to think about, as you're in a deficit longer and longer and longer, you're more and more depleted. At some point in time, you're probably going to want to go on something less intense, less taxing. So go into steady state or even, just up in your steps, lifts, all that kind of stuff. Number 1 exercise for each muscle group. Man, this is, so if you haven't seen, look around on my page. I've done my top 3 for every exercise, for every body part. And I always say this is a tough one because I could answer this, but at the same time, any exercise I list, you don't have to do. And every exercise, even in my brain, if the one I list is an A+, then there's an A right next to it. And so really the difference between an A+ and an A, or an A+ and a B+, if I said, well, here's the one concern here. If someone likes it better, adheres to it better, and performs it better, a B+ in my book could be an A+ for someone else. So, take that into consideration. At the same time, when I'm learning things new, sometimes I don't want a whole bunch of concepts. I say, just give me the damn answer. So again, I try and answer that question so you at least have a decent place to start. So let's start with the bottom of the body. We'll go calves. Calves would basically be some sort of hip-loaded calf raise. So if you have a hip-loaded calf raise machine, great. If not, use a leg press. Hamstrings would be seated leg curl. Quads would be a hack squat variation, ideally with bands, or a good pendulum squat. Abs would be ab mat crunches. Pecs would be whatever press you like the best. If I really was getting picky, maybe something that's converging might have a slight edge over other stuff. But again, if you like barbell press, dumbbell press, machine press, whatever you like best, pressing gives it, there's a little bit of leeway there. Same for overhead pressing. Whatever overhead press you like the best. I could make a little bit of an argument for some stability. So, maybe a barbell over dumbbells, machine press, Smith press doesn't make a big difference. Back, if it's erectors, RDLs, and the hyperextension bench. So just do those two together if you want big erectors. Traps, back thickness, chest supported T-bar rows. Lats, it's going to be some sort of single arm pull down, ideally a great machine, but you could do it with cables as well too. Triceps, I'm going to go with the JM press, but whatever isolation you like. I think most of the time for most people it's cables as well too, but I'll just say the JM press, ideally with bands. Biceps, single arm preacher curls, side delts, cuff lateral raises, or a good machine lateral raise. The Atlantis, the Icarian are my two favorite on that, and rear delts, reverse pec deck or cables. So there you go. That's as quick as I can go on that one. Oh, this is a good one. So through a split, do you have the same exercise as you rotate through? So let's say I'm doing a push-pull lower, meaning should I do the same push-pull lower, or should I have a push A and a push B, pull A, pull B? The short answer is I think both work well, and I tend to do kind of in the middle with people, so I don't always just do one or the other. And the concept's on that, if you have, let's say hypothetically you have two different push exercises, two different chest exercises that you like, and you both like them equally, then that's a good thing to rotate, just because I think the rotation, if anything, the best benefit from that is it prevents overuse injuries. So I'd say it's a little bit better for injury prevention. So again, if you have two exercises that are both, I rate these both A pluses for me, might as well rotate them. Another reason is if you don't have any exercises you rate as an A or whatever. So it's like every chest press feels okay, every overhead press feels okay, then you might want to rotate those okay ones, just so again, you don't accumulate injuries trying to just force one that doesn't feel great. Just getting yourself in a slightly different path could be a good thing. That being said, if you have for a body part, like what is your perfect exercise, meaning it feels like butter on the joints, it feels great in the muscle you're trying to train, you've been progressing it for long periods of time, it just works awesome, then there's no reason to rotate that. So if I'm trying to hit, erectors with a deadlift variation and RDLs just feel the best, I'm not going to sub it to, a snatch grip RDL if I just like normal grip RDLs just for the sake of rotation. Or if, like for me, single arm preacher curls feel the best, I'm not going to switch to some other curl variation that feels like crap if that one just feels the best. So there's really no right or wrong. A lot of this comes to coaching preference too. So some coaches really do a good job with that A-B rotation. But again, if something feels great, I don't think you want to arbitrarily switch to something that by your own rating is an inferior exercise. In your experience, how big is the effort gap between bodybuilder pros and general population? True general population, it's very big, right? Because bodybuilders are weird. Even if you're not the hardest training bodybuilder, you still like to go into the gym for the most part. You still like to get a pump. You still like to have a little bit of pain, where general population is terrified of the gym. They don't even want to go in just because they don't like sweating. So for even the average gym goer, for the most part, the effort is generally higher. The biggest difference, even more than that, is the adherence is so much higher. So some people have good enough genetics combined with drugs, pro bodybuilders, that they don't have to work crazy hard. And that's not even a knock against them. Like if you didn't have to work too hard, if you can stay 3 reps short of failure all the time and grow, why the hell would you train to failure? I wouldn't even recommend it. So there are some people, because of great genetics more than anything else, like I said, drugs are matter, but great genetics more than anything else, that don't have to work as hard, but the adherence still has to be great. They don't miss sessions. They really adhere great to their diet. They adhere to their sleep. They adhere to everything outside the gym so much more than general population. That's probably arguably even a bigger separator than just all across the board how hard they train, because some pros don't train that hard. And again, that's not always a bad thing. Sneak peek of what's coming on the app. Incredible app. Best investment I made. I had to read that whole one out loud. Thanks, Mom. Just kidding. It's not for my mom, I swear. For anyone that doesn't know, on my app, right now there's 1 billion programs on there. There's another one dropping, right around now, whenever the date of this video is recorded. But also there's a huge nutrition upgrade coming that's going to be better than anything out there. If anybody doesn't know, I have a diet planner already on my app, which is great considering the cost of how much you get from a programming standpoint and how much you can already get from some diet help, diet planner stuff, doing your macros, making adjustments based on input. The next upgrade is going to be, it's going to be ridiculous. So it's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be better than a coach, because there's an emotional component that a good coach will manage better than anything else. but it's going to be pretty damn epic. And that should be dropping by January. That's the goal. It's a really, really big project, really big build out, more so for my business partners and than mine. So that's the thing to look forward to on that. A lot of questions about vegetarians and bodybuilding. I don't know why you asked this. It's harder. I don't know if, and then someone asked, can a vegetarian bodybuilder win Mr. Olympia? I don't know, man. I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, genetics are huge. I don't know how good Phil Heath could have been being a vegetarian. Probably still better than a lot of pros that eat meat. I don't know. It's harder. How much harder? I don't know. How do we minimize the risk of joint injury and problems due to heavy lifting? Have perfect form. I mean, the reality is, yes, every lift, even with perfect form, comes with some degree of risk, but a huge percentage of injuries come from obvious things. People do exercises that hurt from the warm-up sets, or at least don't feel good. People will be warming up on the bench press and be like, shoulder, put 25s on, shoulder, put some more 25s on, shoulder. And to their top set, it really hurts their shoulder and they get off and like, all right, good day. High five, bro. Good chest workout. And so some of it's avoid the obvious. If stuff doesn't, not only if it doesn't hurt, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And then aside from that, people don't take any time with their warm-ups either. Like literally for the fact, if you put weight on the bar and move it around for 4 sets before your heavy one, that's not the same as actually doing something with intent. Think about what you're doing. Actually take inventory of how your body feels through the range of motion. Are you using things? Even outside of the fact that I think there's way more structured things people could be doing aside from that. Bodybuilders are notorious for not ever taking joints in their body through a range of motion other than what exercises, push, pull, overhead. And I think you losing the ability to contract through muscle and joints full ranges of motion will be things that lead over time to potential injuries. So proper warm-ups and actually getting a plan pre and post. I'm going to link up here somewhere. I think we can put a link in here. Trevor, can we put a link in? We could put a link in. So I'm going to link to, shameless plug, one of my favorite ebooks I've made, one of my favorite products, the Mobile Meathead, is basically a plan of it's 3 to 5 minutes of prep pre, 3 to 5 minutes post. There's nothing miraculous about it. It does not fix anything. It doesn't prescribe anything. It is just a structured plan that has you moving every single muscle and every single joint in your body through its full contractile range over the course of your split, which again comes back to looking at my dad or my grandparents. The best habits that are going to have the best for injury prevention, the best for success long-term is just doing something preventative, something in moderation every single day, because people will get injured and then they have to go to physical therapy 3 times a week for an hour and they want to get infrared and sauna and do all, which can be fine. But I would rather do 3 to 5 minutes of stuff pre and post training every single day and prevent all that stuff as much as possible. And again, from experience of people that I've had do this, from myself do it, clients do it, it makes a massive difference just actually moving your body of your own control through range of motion. It's a very powerful thing. Can a Smith machine squat be a good meat and potatoes exercise? Yeah, the Smith machine question is so strange to me. People are like this mystery of like, is it okay? Is it not okay? If I go in it, am I going to get made fun of by big guys for using a machine? Because we know if it has the word machine in it, it's bad. It's really the dumbest thing. If you can squat to full depth, hamstring covering your calf in a Smith machine, and you start right now and you do 135, big plates on each side, whatever, for 10 reps, and if you progress that over time to being able to do 6 plates a side for 10 reps, like show me a person on the planet that can do that where their quads aren't drastically bigger. So yes, the people need to get away from this notion that free weights are inherently better and that machines are inherently bad. A Smith machine can be a great option for almost any exercise. Would poor posture affect my ability to have a developed chest? The inability to put your body in a position that is a good position to train chest will affect your ability to train chest. So someone just saying, I have poor posture, meaning you choose to be in this position all day, that's a choice. Realize that. If you're incapable of getting in this position, so if whoever asked this question, if I say, stand up tall, put your chest up, pull your shoulders back, if you're incapable of doing this, then yes, that might affect your ability to train chest. But if you're capable of doing this, then you're capable of choosing this position all the time. So first off, if you want to have good posture and stop telling people you have bad posture, just stand like this all the time. Someone thinks I'm joking, but that's the secret to fixing posture. Anyone that tells you another way is lying or leaving out part of the story. But the same thing for training chest. There is a position where, yes, a caved chest, rounded forward shoulders is not good. Maybe having a little bit of a taller chest, at times retracted shoulders can be good. So yes, if you can't get in that position, you're screwed. But if you can, just actively choose to go there and train your chest there. Thoughts on Tom Platz's way of training? Great. I mean, I honestly don't know the specifics of what amount of volume he used or whatever. But just to train with that level of intensity, the willingness to take things far, that's the reason his legs looked the way that they looked. I mean, so yeah, some of it's genetics, of course, But training that way, in my opinion, with the rarest of genetic outliers, is especially the thing necessary to make your legs look the way that his looks. So there's, again, I can't sign off on all of his training because I don't know what all of it looked like, but the ability to go places where other people are unwilling to go is a necessity for taking your physique, particularly legs, as far as possible. Ideal duration of training, most people, depending on your split, depending on your goal, some people can get it done 45 to 60 minutes. For most people, there's not really a purpose of going over 2.5 hours, depending. I mean, if you're very, very large, and you've got a lot of tissue and you're moving a lot of weight, those are the people that upwards of 2.5 hours can actually be fine, depending on your split and the rest of everything else. But the majority of people between an hour and 2 hours, I think, is a good range. Videos about warming up, I kind of talked about that. Get that ebook. But in reality, warming up is not complicated. If there's a big thing, like I said, pyramiding up, what everybody does is great. You don't have to do that mobile meathead stuff. If you were going to do something, only one thing, just pyramid up. So take your time pyramiding up whatever exercise you're going to do your deadlifts first, do as many as you need to feel prepped, as many as you need to feel like you're going to mitigate the risk for injury, but do it with intent. Again, people always ask the question, somebody asked this, which I'll answer in here, what's more important, this mind-muscle connection thing, good form, or using heavy loads? The more important thing is to do them both together. If you want to have a time where you're focused more on one than the other, your practice, I joke, is every sport in the world has practice except for bodybuilding. So again, if you're wondering about that, if Tom Brady goes and gets better, I'm horrible at other sports, so just spare me the analogy. But I guarantee Tom Brady has worked on mechanics a lot. I'm guaranteed there's times when he's doing this thing or this thing, something with his feet, something with his throwing, something with whatever. And then all that comes together and he performs on game day. Bodybuilders, your game day is your working sets. Your practice, for the most part, is your warm-up sets. And most people take a dump on their warm-up sets and you don't practice. It's basically like just standing there. You're that kid that showed up to practice, and when everyone else was doing something else, you're over by the goalpost and you're picking, 4-leaf clovers or something. I was there. I was at practice, but you didn't do shit while you were there. So most people just doing warm-up sets with intent. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to think about the body parts involved. I'm going to think about the joints involved. I'm going to think about the spots where I mess up the most. Where is my form shitty? How can I focus on keeping that tight right now? And that's the easy way to integrate it. Yes, when you're on your hardest sets, you should hopefully have that locked in and be able to just take it someplace that may require focused aggression. But it's still, if you're actually practicing and have some intent during your warm-up sets, your form should never go to shit. So the answer for the person that asked what's more important, mind-muscle connection or heavy weights, having good mind-muscle connection, quality form with the heaviest weights that you can lift is what you should be doing. There's never really a point in time to completely sacrifice one for the other, although there can be slight shifts. Are you strict with your sleep cycles as well? Yes, I honestly think sleep, even at the highest level of bodybuilders, is one of the most neglected areas there is. And again, for people out there that are looking for spending money on supplements, even spending money on drugs, I'll get some backlash for this one. Sleep's powerful. Like if you're not sleeping 8 quality hours of sleep a night, save your money on everything else first. Get your sleep in order. I know some people don't want to hear this because they think it's going to be some fancy supplement, some fancy cycle, some fancy diet, some fancy training methodology. It's not. Get your nutrition in order. So actually write something down, adhere to it, and get your sleep in order. Sleep is so massive, and there's so much research on it beyond bodybuilding as far as cognitive function, things that can relate to performance, things that relate to hormones. We're only finding out more and more how important sleep is, and I think it's a huge missing piece. I've had some people where they could be eating perfect, they could be on this great cycle or whatever it is, and their sleep sucks, and the change in sleep to the better will have a bigger improvement on their physique than if they took another drug or did something else magical as well too. So sleep is as important as your goals are. If you're brand new, like again, that's why the mistake is a lot of people make great results when they start not keeping track of anything. But everything in training is an adaptive process. So as your training needs to get harder and harder and progressive, it should only make sense that all your recovery variables should have to be progressing right alongside that. And that's where a lot of people make the mistake. Because again, training's fun. Personally, I like training. I wish I did not have to sleep. I wish that I could get away with 4 hours of sleep a night because I got a lot of shit I'd like to do. Realistically, what I would want is a time turner from Harry Potter, what Hermione Granger has. I mean, that's the shit right there. I mean, even that's better than missing sleep because then I could still sleep, but I could just time turn and get all the shit done. So if any of you guys have a time turner out there, hit me up. I would like one of those. But yeah, sleep's not fun. I would rather just go in the gym, and this is how I first started training. Just smash, 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 smash. Can I train more sessions? Can I train more workouts? Can I do more supersets? Can I beat up my training partners more? And lo and behold, my first 2 years of training, I just looked emaciated. You could just see You could probably see a little bit of definition in my bones better, not actually any muscle. And it's because I didn't prioritize sleep. I didn't prioritize recovery. So sleep is massive. And again, it's progressively more important as you get progressively further along your training journey. And in my opinion, like I said, even at the highest level, it's one of the biggest missing factors for a lot of people to take things to the next step. Because even like I said, a pro bodybuilder could get far on 6-7 hours of sleep a night. Not saying that's horrible, but reality for how hard I see some people train, you might need 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep a night. And now in the Instagram world, some of the most popular bodybuilders in the world are also the ones that are hustling and grinding, and they've got to be on their laptop, on their yachts, and showing you all this shit they're getting done, and they're on Team No Sleep. Team No Sleep is associated with success, which I get. It should be Team No Lazy, so you don't have to be Team No Sleep. How about Team No Netflix, Team No TV, Team No Screen? Join that team first, and you can still be cool and badass and work really hard and be on Team Sleep. Because at the highest level, you're going to have these outliers of people that, I don't know how much, maybe I'm missaying something, but I imagine someone like Elon Musk saying that he sleeps for like 4 hours a day because he's got too much shit to do. The funny thing is, even at the highest performers, it's because their bodies probably operate and their brains operate on levels so much higher than we are that they feel like they're at their highest level of performance. But even someone like that, if they got more sleep, could probably take it to levels where they aren't now. And I don't know, maybe Elon's on Team Sleep. I have no idea. But there are people, again, that are high performers that because they're able to perform well, think they don't need sleep, but they're actually still missing levels out there, not just physical levels, but cognitive levels out there as well too. So I finished on a nice long sleep rant. That is the Q&A. Like I said, leave me some good questions. If you ask me how many grams of creatine you should take, if you ask me, is creatine safe? Just take that same thing that you're going to type in the comments section, go to this place called Google, type it in Google, examine.com. You got anything for supplements, just go to examine.com, pubmed.com or pubmed.org. Peer-reviewed stuff, sciencey people, nerd stuff, have at it there. Don't waste my time here. Ask me about training application, coaching, all that good stuff, or other stuff about my feelings. In case you didn't pick it up, Harry Potter. Hit me some Harry Potter questions. I'm all down for that. Lord of the Rings. Dune's coming out. I'm excited about that. You guys want to, let's just turn this into a movie channel, a nerd channel. That could be my secondary channel. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Leave some questions below. The questions get the most hearts and that seem people have the most interest in, I will answer pretty soon. Maybe we'll do it in a couple days. So hope you enjoy this one. Until the next time.